Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Hampton, and I'm going to walk you guys through my life story. So here we go.
Okay, so here is my map. We'll just go through some of the main waterways and areas of water, I guess. Okay, so to the northeast and along the whole entire eastern border of Nebraska is the Missouri River. Up here, I have Lewis and Clark Lake. That's up by Yankton, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little while. We have the Elkhorn River. That is another body of water that's kind of affected, especially my family who lives here in Page and out in O'Neill, and Clearwater too, I guess, when I worked there. And then also we have Logan Creek that was over by Wayne, and yes, so we'll go from there. All right, so I'll start here in Norfolk. That's where my life began, I guess. I was born in Norfolk on November 18th of 1994. I am the oldest of 4 kids, and so it was just my mom, dad, and I that lived in Norfolk, and then we moved over to Battle Creek. While we were in Battle Creek, we lived at a feedlot, and while living there, my mom and dad had my sister Morgan and my brother Ty. My dad worked on the feedlot, and he actually worked at a dairy farm that was pretty close to our home. I have this little tornado here because one of my main memories that I have of living at the feedlot was there was one night, it was just my mom and my siblings and I, because my dad was at work, and there was a tornado in the area, and we had to go down into the cellar, so that's why that little tornado's there. From Battle Creek, we actually moved back to Norfolk, and when living in Norfolk, I started elementary school. I actually had the privilege of going to a one-room schoolhouse in just northwest of Norfolk, District 24. It was the Detterman District, and we were known as the Detterman Dragons. So my teacher, Mrs. Hagland, she, after teaching at the one-room schoolhouse, actually went back to Norfolk, and she actually just got to retire this year. And at the one-room schoolhouse, it was kindergarten through 8th grade. I was the only person in my class in kindergarten, 1st, and in 2nd grade while I was there. And what was really fun was my aunt and uncle. My aunt is 8 years older than me, and my uncle is only 6 years older than me. And they both attended this country school with me, so when I was in kindergarten through 2nd grade. So that was pretty fun. After living in Norfolk for a while and attending school, we actually moved up to Plainview. Reason for moving there, my dad actually got a job as a Nebraska state trooper, and so we were just stationed in Plainview. So not too far away from Norfolk and some of our family. And so, yeah, so in Plainview, I'm going to move this down. I attended Plainview Public Schools, and I graduated in 2013. When we moved to Plainview, we lived in a blue house out in the country, and we had we lived on a farm. So we had cows and chickens and dogs and all sorts of fun farm animals, I guess, and lived the farm life. I have a picture of a pool here, reason being, I worked at the Plainview pool for 8 years, so 4 years of high school and my 4 years of college. So after graduating in 2013, I moved from Plainview over to Wayne. I attended Wayne State College, and I actually got my Bachelor's of Science degree in middle level education in endorsement areas in math and science. My first year living there, I lived in Berry Hall, and my roommate actually was a former classmate who had moved away, so that was pretty fun. And after my first year, I became an RA or a resident assistant. And I was first stationed in Bowen Hall, which is the tallest building in Northeast Nebraska, which some of you will probably giggle. But it's 8 stories tall, and it's literally the tallest building in all of Northeast Nebraska. So I have this tornado here as well. I feel like tornadoes follow me wherever I go. But my freshman year of college, I was working at the rec center on campus, and there was a tornado just a couple miles away from Wayne. So I was working in the rec center, and my boss came in and he said, "You guys need to be getting down to the locker rooms." And we're like, "Well, what's going on?" And we actually had a category 4 tornado go through Wayne, and it was unbelievable, really. So that's why that little tornado's there. Just a fun little memory. Okay, so those of you who are from Wayne, I am sorry that this is a pathetic attempt at the water tower of Wayne, and it always says Wayne America on it because that's just what Wayne is known for or known as. So I had to include that. And then over here, I just have a little list of different bars and places that were just kind of the highlights of my college days and places that we would go attend. So the Max was a bar, and they have what's called the Pounder Night. So you could get a pound of hamburger, a pound of fries, and you get 16 ounces of pop or beer. So that was pretty fun. They also had bladder busters and Pong night and all sorts of fun things. Riley's was a dance hall that you could go to. Probably one of the sketchiest places I've ever attended in my life. But it was just one of those places where you just had to go just to experience it. Riley's is actually not even there anymore because it was in such bad shape. But there was country night and they had hip hop night. It was just a lot of fun to go attend. The White Dog, another bar just right across from the Max. The White Dog, I just remember it for shuffleboard and playing pool and all sorts of fun things with friends. So that was my time at Wayne. So my last year at Wayne, I actually got to student teach out in O'Neill. During this time of me student teaching in O'Neill, my parents were actually in the process of building a house in Page, Nebraska. Page is a village, very, very small community. However, they live about, I would say, 10 minutes from Page, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But it's pretty fun. So this is kind of my Page experience right here. So my mom and dad, they live out here. They just got to put up a pool 2 years ago outside of their house, which is a lot of fun. And all of us kids love to come home and hang out with them and do that. They also have cows. So that's a big part of our life. And what's really fun is my parents live a quarter mile away from my grandparents. So they have a small little pond on their home place that we like to go fishing in and just kayak and have fun. And then I attempted to draw deer over here because hunting and fishing and all sorts of things are pretty important in our lives. And yeah. So that is Page and where my parents and my grandparents live. Okay, so after I was done student teaching, I actually had the opportunity to move back to Plainview. In Plainview, I was driving every day to Clearwater to school and to teach. So here is my little Clearwater section. Clearwater, home of the Cyclones, they are now consolidating schools with Orchard and Ewing, and they are now the Summerlin Bobcats. So again, that tornado following me around everywhere I go. So I taught there for 2 years. My first year, I was the 5th grade homeroom and 5th and 6th grade math and science. And then my second year, excuse me, I was the 7th and 8th and 9th grade math and science teacher. I have the Highway Mart there, mainly just because funny story that goes along with it. The Highway Mart is their gas station in town, and one day I was driving to school and I ran out of gas a mile away from the gas station, and I was actually going fast enough that I got to just cruise right into town and into the Highway Mart. However, I did have to cut somebody off, and I felt kind of bad. But if I would have stopped, there would have been no driving again. So, yeah, that's just kind of a funny story. Then Clearwater is also known for their Clearwater Rodeo. Out of the 25 years that I have lived in Northeast Nebraska, I have yet to go to the rodeo, but everybody tells me it's a really fun time, but I've just never had the opportunity to go. So, yes, that is my experiences in Clearwater. So after teaching in Clearwater for 2 years, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to actually get a teaching position back in Plainview. In Plainview, I have been teaching 7th and 8th graders mainly, and I have one class of sophomores and juniors for math. But this kind of leads me to a couple of different places here in Plainview. So while teaching here at school, I am the head volleyball coach and the assistant track coach for both high school and for junior high. So I'm very busy with extra activities. I put D&K Lanes on here. Okay, so D&K Lanes is our bowling alley here in town, but it's also just our hometown bar. So much fun hanging out with friends there and family and such. So yeah, that's why that is on here. And then I have Mary's. So Mary's Restaurant is just a little hometown cafe that everyone goes to after a ball game, or just you want to stop in for dinner one day. It's just an amazing hometown feel and just phenomenal food. So if you guys are ever around the Plainview area, stop in at Mary's. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so one of my new hobbies that I've been taking up lately is golfing. Not great, but it's sure a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun too when you get to have a little, I guess you would say, extracurricular drinks while you're golfing. So super fun. Okay, lastly, and probably most importantly, is this corn stalk. So I didn't want to go through and just make a bunch of buildings and go that route. So I drew this instead because it symbolizes a lot of things in my life. So in third grade, when I moved to Plainview, I actually met my future husband, which is amazing. So my husband, Dawson, and I were high school sweethearts, and we just got married this last year in September. So we're going up on our 1-year anniversary, which is just amazing. It's crazy what you can learn about someone in a year. So I drew this corn stalk. Sorry, I didn't grow it. Just to symbolize him. Dawson is a farmer, and he grows just row crops is all we do here at our farm. I guess, except for my chickens, but I'll talk about them in a little bit. But he grows corn and soybeans. And with that, he is a 5th generation farmer, and what's really fun is we live just 2 miles away from his mom and dad. So he gets to farm with his dad, and that's just such a blessing being close to them. And what's really fun too is we actually got married out on their farm. So it just has a very, very special place, or it is a special place to us. So this corn stalk also represents the farm that we live on, just northeast of Plainview. We're northeast of Plainview, so we're about in this area. We are pretty much right in the middle of Plainview, Creighton, Osmond, Wausau, and Bloomfield. So you drew a dot, we'd be right in the center of all of those communities, which is pretty cool because we like to go on drives every now and then and go just look at everything. So on our farm, we have our dog, Lily. She is a golden retriever, and she is going to be 1 in August. And oh my gosh, guys, she's the sweetest pup I have ever had. She's such a good girl. And we actually just got some chickens. So I have 14 chickens, and it was kind of a really fun process. My sister-in-law actually works at school with me here in Plainview, and she was doing a project with her students right before COVID had started, and so she was in the process of hatching eggs. So since her students weren't here, she asked me if I would be willing to take some of these eggs, and I said, oh, heck yeah, I'll take some eggs. Or some chicks, I guess, to hatch some more eggs. So we have 6 roosters and we have 8 hens. So some of you are probably thinking, oh my gosh, why do you have so many roosters? So these roosters we're planning on feeding out and then later butchering for meat. And then the hens we're going to keep for laying purposes for eggs. So that is kind of the background of our my map. A couple of different, I guess, water features. I have Grove Lake. That's out here between Plainview and Page. We go fishing out there a lot, and my parents have a boat, so we just like to go kind of cruise around the lake and do stuff there. And I also put the Lewis and Clark Lake up here in Yankton, mainly because a lot of our friends have boats and different things that they go up to Lewis and Clark, and we go up there with them, which is so much fun. And Dawson actually has a sister that lives in Yankton, and they have kayaks, so we sometimes go kayaking with them. So that is my map and a little bit about my life and what makes me me. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to watch your guys' too.